Now, while we sluggle McDougal here, now with 10.1.5 having been released yesterday and doing at least 8 dungeons after they are, disabled, then re-enabled Mythic Plus, I have a very good idea of the meta, and I'm just going to go through and run through the best classes, the plays, and the do not plays for this 10.1 patch. Starting off, we're just doing DPS, no tanks, no healers. That'll be in another video. Now, number 1, Warrior. I'm going to go ahead and put Arms Warrior in A tier. It is still good. Maybe not as good as Fury, maybe as good as Fury. I mean, I've seen a lot of Arms Warriors doing extremely well. Havoc, I'm going to go ahead and put that in A tier too. There's a lot of A tier, a lot of classes doing a lot of good things out there. Alright, I mean, Havoc's Havoc, brings darkness, brings it, AoE stuns in general. Did I say darkness? It has darkness and a 5% magic buff. Shadow Priest, damage profile is absolutely insane. Brings a party buff, has greater Dispel, which, to be honest, AoE Dispel is incredibly busted in Dragonflight. So are AoE Suns, and the Shadow Priest brings it all. Long kick, which isn't great, but I mean, it is what it is. Windwalker, mate, I haven't been seeing anything about these guys. I know they just got nerfed, although it said it was a buff. They have a trinket or the ring that they were doing half their damage, but anyway, they're down there. I wish they would be good again, because they're a lot of fun. Excuse me, the spin to win playstyle is, was gone from last expansion, but it is what it is, and, no king can reign forever. Outlaw Rogue, it's, Outlaw Rogues, you know what, we're going to put Windwalker down to C, because we just haven't seen any of them. Outlaw, it's good, it's a Rogue, I mean, can't really fault the Rogue or say much about them, they are insane. Go ahead and put Boomy up in S tier as well. I mean, they just, especially in these bigger dungeons, these hectic cleave dungeons, they just go ham. They've got something for everything. They've got Battle Res, they've got Mark of the Wild, they've got AoE stuns, or disrupts rather. They've basically got it all. Definitely an A tier. We're going to go ahead and look at Feral Druid. Now, Feral Druid, just another one I haven't seen much going on about. I'm going to go ahead and put them down to C tier. They're basically carries. So C standing for carry DPS. If you bring one of these DPS, you'll be carrying them. Okay? I mean, they might look good on some pulls, but generally, you will be carrying them. And Druid most definitely belongs there. Sub-Rogue going straight into A tier. I mean, it's incredibly good. Nothing much has changed. You're literally just pressing 2 buttons, throwing in, it's Shuriken Storm, Black Powder with a little secret techniques, Cold Blood in between to do massive damage, huge sustain. Look, they're a rogue. I mean, as far as any rogue's concerned, when you've got as much utility as a rogue, you're always going to live in the S tier, and if not, the very high A. So that goes and stays right there. Now, this is going to be controversial because I myself play one, but I'm going to go ahead and put Fury in S tier. They are incredible sustain. They have amazing funnel. They bring Rallying Cry and they bring Battle Shout. So, in my opinion, they are right up there as some of the best DPS in the game. Bias, perhaps. Plus, I mean, who just doesn't love a warrior running in there and just getting 1D'd by like half the mechanics, alright? It probably a high S tier, but due to pure biasm, Fury, and probably Arms. I mean, we'd probably go and put Arms somewhere like that, to be honest, if we're like arranging them, so to speak. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and leave that there. Rep Pally, I mean, it's a high B, solid A, actually. It probably belongs to be an A. I've seen Rep Pallies absolutely blast. They're not what they were in Season 1, however. I mean, I think the specs above them just do considerably more, bring considerably more. I mean, but Pallies are still good. Anything with an immune that can do damage is pretty okay. Yeah, I'll leave them there. Ellie, Shaman. Haven't seen many of these in any of my groups, nor do I know many people who play it at a high level. Unless Petco, and I do watch his stream from time to time. They look decent, mate. I mean, They're alright. But they're not as good as their counterpart, which is enhancement. Now put that in an A, probably put that at like a really high A. They did get nerfed 10.1.5. Now, I can't go ahead and tell you what the actual percentage is, but I know it was significant enough for them to be, you know, put down a peg. Look, like all shamans, they don't bring a party buff. I mean, there's Wind Fury with this. Their survivability is decent. I don't know. For me, they're not up there in the S tier, but are they good? Especially if the question is enhancement good? They are insane. And the difference between S and A is minuscule. And, you know, it is what it is. Now we're going on to the Dragon Evoker. Oh, sorry, the Dragon Devastation. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put this puppy in S tier. We'll put him in front of the Warrior and probably in front of the Rogue. This class literally bangs. There's no real weakness here. They have great survivability, great personals. They bring a lust. That's another big thing. None of these classes up here bring a lust, so having one of those you need is mandatory. And look, they just bang. Single target, AoE, doesn't matter. They can move and do their rotation. They've literally got it all. So that's a well-deserved S tier. Augmentation we're going to just put at the end here, because that's, you know, that's the love child at the moment. So we're just going to put it back there. Beastmaster, I've been critical of all hunter specs on my channel for a very long time. For the same reason, their damage is decent, but not as good as the damage above them. Survivability is pretty mediocre. They do have an immunity, which is decent. They do bring lust, which is decent. Probably could even go up here just for the fact that these guys actually have lust. It's the same thing, you know. It's the same thing with marksmanship, but survival's a little bit better. I mean, they're good, but they're just not as good as the above specs. All right, they simply aren't. And there's just no like cheese mechanics with feigned death anymore, and you know, camouflage is just not as good as it used to be. There's no like personal skips and all this sort of stuff. So, I mean, we're just going to leave them there. I mean, I know it's one of the most played specs in the game, and there'll be a lot of hate in the comments, but you know, whatever, just fire away. Just send me the hate. The next two specs, well, I'm going to put these straight up. Affliction, I have never even seen one. I haven't seen an Affliction Warlock in what seems to be an eternity. I mean, Warlocks are insane. They've got gate, they've got locks, lock rocks. They've got incredible survivability, but I just don't see them. I mean, I literally don't see them. I mean, let's just have a look for a second. Like, let's just bring up this just for a second. All right, Warlocks. So we know Destruction is good. We're getting there. Affliction, there's a few people playing them. All right, but this is all keys, and let's just for the sake of it, go to 20. All right. Well, there are no Affliction Warlocks. So I was right. They are the unicorn spec, man. Like, holy. Anyway, yeah, no, deserve it. They're down there with the hunters, mate. Demonology B tier, and I'm gonna go ahead and put Destruction in B tier too, because while they are good, while they are very good, they just aren't as good as the other specs. And if we think of, you know, some might say, well, they bring a battle res. It's like, yeah, but so does Boomy, and Boomy does everything they do, just better, right? So we're going to leave them there. Again, we went from Hunters straight into Warlocks, and we just, you know, we're talking poorly of them. So, I mean, it is, I'm sorry, but, I mean, it's just an opinion, by the way, so don't get too upset. Arcane Mage, I'm going to go ahead and put that in high B tier. This could be low 8, though. The changes to how Orb Barrage is working is pretty wild. It's actually insane. I'm going to go ahead and put him in B, though, because I just think it has a very high skill cap. It does bring AI. It does bring Lust. And it brings a Shroud now. May just bring a Shroud. It has a new immunity where it can blast and take very little damage. It has... Did I mention Lust? It has Greater Barrier, where it's basically a rallying cry. I mean, mages are insane. We're going to leave that there, though. It's a solid B tier. Fire Mage, we're going to put in low A. Now, I know, it's probably even S tier. I don't know. It's probably S. to be honest. High A, bottom. They got nerfed. Went from Ignite being from 4 targets with Fire Blast down to 3. I really don't think that's going to make it any difference whatsoever. With Augmentation Evokers and Priests being in the meta, you're going to PI these bastards, and then they're going to be buffed by Augmentation. You know what? Leave them in S. They're in actually every single high key. Like, all these guys are, well, they're all say Frost, but a lot of them are Fire, right? Especially last season, or last patch, 10.1. So, I mean, Mage, the thing you need to remember about mages and rogues is that their toolkit for Mythic Plus is insane. And if you're not going to bring a Dwagon, then you need a Lust character. So Mage is a really good option. And if you're going to PI this boy, give him some augmentation buffs, they're going to the moon. Stonks on Mage. Assassination, I'm putting it down there in C tier. I know it's good. I mean, I've dabbled a little bit. But, I mean, when you're talking about Sub-Rogue and Outlaw Rogue in a 5-man environment, just not as good. And then you got to think about these affixes like Bursting, for example. They can't even get into Stealth to get their rotation off at the start. So, I mean, it's a bit of a handicap. Just play the other 2 specs, in my opinion. And Assassination doesn't bring anything in their Mythic Plus build that's any better than any of the other 2 specs can bring. They lose too much. Frost Mage. I don't know if it's going to be as good as Fire. I think it's going to be actually insane, but I just don't know if it's going to be as good as Fire, especially in like high keys. I think it's going to be really, really, really good though. It's going to be high A or, you know, or S tier. It's going to be somewhere around there. Mage is back if you haven't got the memo, and Arcane, I'm telling you right now, could even be an A. I mean, we mentioned about all their party buffs they've now got. They bring a Shroud if they choose to. They bring hard immunity if they choose to. Frost brings 2 hard immunities if it chooses to. It also can bring a 70% DR. That's, you know, they can't be snared, they can't be interrupted. And then Greater Barrier, Lust, AI, Altered Time. I mean, they're just unkillable little freaks. So we're gonna leave that in S tier. S tier, high A, but we'll put him in S. I got a feeling that Frost is going to do some magic. Frost DK, dude, I don't even know. Again, like these 2 specs, actually unicorns. Unicorns, dude. Unicorns. I mean, it's decent, it brings a battle res, but I feel like it does nothing better. And a massive AoE stun, granted, but it doesn't do anything better than any of the other specs above it. Right? Unholy DK, I'm going to put low B tier. It could be higher. Now, we're going to see a few of these in the Great Push. But I feel like that's not a proper representation of what's actually going on in keys. No one's really bringing these and pulling like these pros do, right? They're just not. So we'll put them in B. Same thing with all the other Death Knights. They're great, but they're just not that great. And finally, we are coming to Augmentation. Now, this is the new love child of WoW. Now, I know what you're saying. It doesn't belong in garbage, and I'm just putting it there, alright? It needs its own little aisle. This spec, as far as I can see, is 100% the love child, the meta, the godsend that WoW has been asking for. Will it be S tier? I don't know. Will it be God tier? On this video, absolutely. We're just going to put this and just put new spec love child. I mean, I've seen the new spec love child, the Augmentation Evoker, get into a group, do less damage than the tank and the healer, but in the particular video that I did watch, they were buffing an Arcane Mage and a Shadow Priest in a Freehold 25, and I think both of these specs, the other DPS, finished the dungeon on somewhere in the vicinity of 300 plus K. And the Arcane Mage with the Augmentation Evoker was hitting cooldowns on trash and pulling well over 1 million. And this just isn't possible without the new spec love child. So he has an entire new row above all the rest. I want to see what's going to happen. My personal opinion is if they're actually doing less DPS than healers and tanks, which I feel like it's just a details bug, then they're trash. It doesn't matter how much damage, like how much damage they're bringing, right? Especially if you're going to buff like mages and priests. I mean, they don't bring anything that mages and priests don't already have with a lust and, you know, buffs and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. I haven't done enough research into them, but I do know that they are good and that on details they are basically doing, they're pissing in a bucket, mate. They're doing nothing for damage. Anyway, that's my tier for 10.1.5. Thank you for coming along and watching this nonsense tier list, and that is the disclaimer. All tier lists are complete and utter nonsense, and this is my subjective opinion. But thank you for stopping by. Thank you for having a look. And of course, get angry in the comments or like it in the comments. Do whatever you please. Do whatever you must. Get at me. But don't forget to like and subscribe. God bless. Enjoy 10.1.5. And I will see you on the next one. Deuces.